If you've ever been in a brief and after the commander finished speaking, the first shirt stepped up and said, just piggyback off what the commander said, or it just kept escalating, more people kept piggybacking, and at the end, they asked if anybody had any questions, and some young E2, E3 raised his hand and asked a question. It wasn't the fact that he asked a question, but it was the fact that the question was either retarded or of a personal nature and not pertaining to the 200 or so individuals there. And all you could do was, with your imaginary laser beams, bore a hole through his skull. Go and hit that subscribe button. If that's ever happened to you in a civilian setting and it was kind of analogous, subscribe as well. Like, comment, all that stuff helps me out quite a bit. Now, supporting me. A lot of people will ask. If you don't want to support me, no biggie. I'm going to make these videos anyhow. But first off, you can get a sweet plaid shirt from Vertex. The discount code is Garand, no spaces. And then also, to complement your plaid, you should probably get some ammo so you can actually shoot your gun and train, so you can look cool. So we also have Freedom Munitions, who's a big sponsor, helps us out, gives you a sweet discount code, and that is also Garand, no spaces. Makes your life easy. There's also a Patreon account, also Garand. Get in there. Donate if you feel the need to. That helps me out. That helps me produce videos, get better gear, all that kind of stuff, and expand and get larger. So let's grow together. So today we're going to be talking about a AR-15 rifle. So some people would say, why are you reviewing an AR-15? If you've seen one, you see them all. And to some extent that's true, but there are builders who have some novel approaches, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So the builder we're going to be talking about today is TRIARC Systems, and we're going to be specifically looking at the TSR-15 SE. Cool little rifle. So we're going to talk about what makes it different. You know, sometimes it's always not about having something super innovative, because at the moment it's kind of stagnating a little bit as far as AR-15s is concerned. But sometimes when you have the right pieces put together, even if we all know what those parts are and they're easily sourceable, when you put them together in a good, nice, complete package from a good builder with some innovative options, you get a really nice rifle. And that's kind of the case of what we have with the TRIARC TSR-15 SE. Now there are other models. There's like a service rifle and many others, and they range from price. So when it comes to the cost, you're looking to spend a little over $2,000. Now, as far as the components are concerned, you're definitely spending a little bit more than what all the components would cost, where you just source them all individually and get them sent to your doorstep. With shipping, you're getting kind of close, but the fact is that you pay a little bit more. So what are you paying for? You're of course paying for guys who know what they're doing to build the rifle. Now, how hard is it to build a rifle? Really not that bad, but again, I take some solace in knowing that there's professionals building my rifles as opposed to me, and I trust myself. I've built quite a few rifles, but sometimes depending on time and that type of stuff, it's more cost effective for me just to have a rifle built for me by professionals. So if that's kind of describes you, or if you just want that kind of peace of mind, I don't think there's anything wrong with buying a rifle and spending a little bit extra on that. So in any case, let's get down to it and start talking about it. So first off, first thing to notice with this rifle is that the upper and lower are both billet. So as opposed to being forged or cast or any of that type of stuff. So when it comes to that, is it, you know, any more strength? No, but what you can do with a billet receiver is, because it's made from a solid block of aluminum, you can get some pretty cool designs. Looks super aesthetic. It's literally one of the best descriptors for the billet lowers and uppers. So it looks good. They're able to do kind of one-piece trigger guards, all that kind of stuff. It looks nice. Big fan of it. I really like kind of the way they have it designed. Now, what's cool about the lower specifically is that you have ambi controls. Now, there are a couple companies that do ambi controls, good and bad, but I think that what TRIARC has here is a really good ambi setup. So, now, this isn't like the Radian, where you can lock the charging handle to the rear with the magazine release. We'll talk about that in a second here. But as you can see here, we have the magazine release like normal. But if we lock the bolt to the rear, we also have a bolt release up here on the top. So we can easily release that bolt with the trigger finger. Kind of cool. Unfortunately, you can't lock the bolt back with anything up here or anything like that. But nonetheless, cool little feature. Now, on the opposite side, for my lefties, if you were given the devil's hand, then your options are pretty good with this rifle. The magazine release works fairly well. Now, the one thing about this magazine release is that it's not at the exact position that the magazine release is on the other side. So it's actually closer to the bottom of the mag well. Now, it does release very simply. It's very easy to actuate and that type of stuff. Of course, normal bolt release. I like that all the magazine releases and all those bolt buttons, they have a nice little textured grip to them, very easy to actuate. If you notice on the magazine release on this particular rifle, there's no fence around it. So what is a fence? A fence is that raised portion around the magazine button to ensure that it doesn't become depressed accidentally. So how big of an issue is that? It depends on what you're doing and that type of thing. To some extent, experience has shown that a fence is probably a good idea. And so again, there are other rifles that they make that have the fence on them. Their service rifle edition has the fence around it. So it just depends on what you do. Competition shooting, maybe not that big of a deal, but certainly if you're doing any type of a duty rifle, my law enforcement guys out there, probably want to have some type of fence around the magazine release. So let's compare and contrast that really quickly with the Radian rifle. So I'll be doing a review on this a little bit later, but they approached their ambi design a little bit differently. So with theirs, to lock the bolt to the rear, you can do that by simply pulling back the charging handle, pressing on the magazine release, and it locks that bolt to the rear. So kind of cool. Their bolt release, which is on the right-handed side for us right-handed shooters, it's a little stiffer than the one on the TRIARC rifle. Is it that big of a deal? No, but just wanted to point it out. Their magazine release is in line, just like the other magazine release, so it's kind of a little bit more intuitive. It's right where you'd expect it to be. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they're both kind of give and takes, because again, I think with the TRIARC rifle, that the bolt release feels a little nicer on the right-handed side. Magazine release not quite as nice as their magazine release, so again, it's kind of a back and forth, and it depends on what's going to work for you. But in any case, I kind of wanted to point that out, that there are other really good ambi lowers out there. As far as triggers are concerned, they are running I have a Gh3 SSA. They offer pretty much all Gh3 triggers on some of their models. On other ones, they offer the ALG, also excellent triggers, but again, I prefer Gh3 triggers. And again, Gh3 is a good sponsor, that Gh3 boy. We also have a Gh3 handguard up here. This is the Mark IV rail. So the difference between the Mark IV and the Mark VIII is that the Mark IV has Picatinny at the ends here, and I prefer that because most of my lights and stuff use some type of Picatinny mounting solution. So that kind of comes down to personal preference. So as far as the light is concerned, I've got the Arisaka 600 series. Couldn't recommend it enough. And then above it, I have the B.E. Myers Mall C1 Plus, which is a civilian version of the Mall. Again, probably the best IR device on the market currently, as far as illumination capabilities and all that stuff is concerned. This also has a Gh3 gas block underneath right there. And we also have a Gh3 charging handle back here. So this comes with the Magpul grip and the Magpul stock. This is actually my first time using the Magpul stock. Again, it feels pretty similar to a lot of other well-made stocks out there. Again, it's just, do you like it? Does it look cool to you? I think it looks pretty cool. So no biggie there. I've had no problems with it. The safety on this weapon is the Radian. So it can either be set to a 45-degree throw or a 90-degree throw. So the 90-degree throw is what you're mostly used to. When it's on safe, it's just horizontal. When you flip it, vertical fire. But with this particular weapon, you can also set the Radian to that short throw. So it goes 45 degrees. So it goes from horizontal to 45. It's kind of, again, that shorter throw in theory. When you're throwing it, it's going to be quicker to the gun, quicker to the trigger, that type of stuff. In practice, I'm not that big of a fan of the 45-degree throw personally, but again, it's not a big deal because I can easily switch it back. Thank you, Radian. Good idea there. No pins or anything to screw with. You just rotate it around. It's a good design. The receiver extension has the Volter A5 system along with the Spring-Co enhanced spring. So again, those are all things that you'd want in your rifle if you were to use the Volter A5 system. And as you know from previous videos, I'm a big fan of the Volter A5 system. It's basically a rifle length buffer system, so that allows that bolt carrier more time to slow down. You don't get that bolt carrier bounce. And again, it makes for a smoother cycling rifle, kind of similar to that M16 for those of you who have fired that rifle, because you know that thing is super soft recoil. Just super fun to shoot. Now, where this rifle kind of comes into its own is the barrel. So the barrel kind of makes the rifle, and in this case, they're using a tracked barrel. So what is a tracked barrel? It's a single edge polygonal barrel. So it's kind of a different rifle system that's proprietary. And what it does is it reduces the deformation of the bullet so that it allows for a greater seal because there's not all those grooves going in there. That allows for, in theory, less gas seepage around the bullet as it's traveling down the barrel, which leads to greater accuracy and all that type of stuff. Now, how true is it? I don't know. I'm not a engineer and all that type of stuff. I'm sure people will chime in with their thoughts on it. But in my thoughts, but in my what I've done so far as far as shooting, I found it to be exceptionally accurate. I don't know if that's me or kind of the whole gun put together, but for whatever reason, I'm shooting it really accurate with this gun. I don't know what it is. So take that for what it's worth. I've had excellent accuracy with this out to around 400. At about 100 with good ammo, I'm shooting close to sub-MOA. I know it can do sub-MOA, but again, my limitations as a shooter is probably the problem there because I'm not like a bullseye shooter and that type of thing. Anyhow, a couple other things before we kind of finish up here. I'm running the Surefire War Comp on this rifle. I really like the War Comp. I have it time neutral. That means that all the ports are facing straight up as opposed to the right or left for a left or right-handed timing. It really helps keep the recoil down. As you can see, it's not that hard to control this weapon at all. I'm running the EOTech EXPS 3-0. Again, you know I like EOTechs for certain applications. If you're looking for battery life, EOTech's not your bay. Otherwise, it's going to work pretty good. Using the TNVC/Unity tactical tap system, it's just a different type of pressure pad configuration that allows you to do a little bit of programming there, and it works pretty dang good. All in all, when it comes down to it, guys, what you're getting is a very, very nicely assembled rifle with some of the best components that the industry currently has to offer. Big fan of the rifles, big fan of their company. So if you're looking for a premium rifle, couldn't recommend the TRIARC Systems TSR-15 enough. Again, for whatever reason, I'm shooting this thing super accurate, not saying that it has some magic on it. Actually, we don't know that. We don't know who's blessed this. Could be Ghassan Glock, put a portion of his soul in this or something like that. We don't know. But this rifle rocks. And the biggest thing is that it makes you look cool, but only if you know what you're doing. So get training to make sure you look cool. Guys, I appreciate your support. Appreciate you watching this. Stay tuned for next week. As always, look cool by training and being good at what you do. Also, be nice to women. You know, I've been seeing a lot of this thought thing going down. So, you know, quick clarification. A thought isn't like every woman. There's a lot of really good women out there. I recommend you find you one if you haven't already, and treat her good. Little words of wisdom to live by, and that makes you look cool.